Hello, and thank you for joining us for Capital City News. Happy New Year. The COVID-19 vaccine rollout is underway in Utah with a timeline for distribution in phases. As we continue to get through the winter, continue to stay safe, follow the CDC guidelines by wearing masks and physical distancing when you're outside your household. If you're not feeling well, get tested. To learn more, visit coronavirus.utah.gov. On this week's episode, we hear from Nicole Salazar, one of 6 core commission members on the Salt Lake City Racial Equity in Policing Commission. And our History Minute this week is about sledding in the city. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back.
At its January 5th meeting, the City Council elected new leadership for 2021, with Amy Fowler stepping in as council chair and James Rogers as vice chair. They were also briefed on the new crime control plan, received updates on ongoing situations like COVID-19, homeless issues, and racial equity in policing, and received briefings for and took public comment on a 6th budget amendment for the fiscal year. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council.
Join the conversation to increase racial equity in policing across Salt Lake City. There are a number of ways to get involved and share your voice with the Salt Lake City Racial Equity in Policing Commission. The next opportunity is a public listening session on Wednesday, January 20th at 5 p.m. To learn more, share your voice, or tune in live, visit slcrepcommission.com. As the Commission works to examine the current policies, programs, culture, and budget of the Salt Lake City Police Department, your experience, your advice, your ideas are needed to help create a safer and more inclusive city. The Commission will consider public feedback to formulate their recommendation to Mayor Mendenhall and the City Council. New year, fresh start. Wondering how to properly dispose of your holiday tree? We've got some tips for you. Salt Lake City residents are encouraged to cut up their trees into 4-foot pieces or smaller and put them in a brown curbside compost can for collection on their regular weekly waste collection day. Ornaments and lights must be removed. Residents who cannot cut their trees for placement in the brown cans may put their trees out for curbside collection. Trees left at the curb will be collected now through January 22nd. Flock trees are not accepted on the curb or in the brown can. Cut flock trees up and place them in your garbage can. For questions, call 801-535-6999. Last year, the Salt Lake City Racial Equity in Policing Commission was formed to examine SLCPD's policies, culture, and budget. Nicole Salazar, one of 6 core commission members, shares details.
My name is Nicole Salazar. I am an attorney in Salt Lake City. I am one of the 6 core commissioners of the Racial Equity and Policing Commission.
Now, can you tell me about the Racial Equity and Policing Commission? How did it come to be, and how did you come to be a commissioner on it?
The Racial Equity and Policing Commission was formed by the mayor in June 2020 in the wake of the George Floyd murder and other racially charged law enforcement involved incidents around the country. I was asked by Mayor Mendenhall to join the core commission and to help lead in the formation of the larger commission in reviewing and amending, maybe even creating new policies as it relates to law enforcement in Salt Lake City.
What is the overall goal then, to cure this in Salt Lake City, and that's sort of the purview of the commission?
The purview of the commission is to review Salt Lake City Police Department policy, procedures, ordinances, to determine if there's a better way of doing things, a different way of doing things, if there's anything that needs to be added. So I know there's a lot of concern around use of force. That's something that we are reviewing. There are concerns about the use of school resource officers in Salt Lake City schools. That's something else we're looking at. The use of canines, some of the stops that law enforcement does in traffic stops. Whatever it is that we can do to review those policies, review procedures and ordinances to make law enforcement safer for both Salt Lake City residents, visitors, and for law enforcement.
So for people who are really concerned that they're not seeing the action they want now, and they're like, oh, of course, there's just another commission that's being appointed. What do you say to folks who are sort of understandably frustrated with sort of the pace of the process?
Absolutely. I completely understand. And there are some of us on the commission who do want to have take larger strides and quicker strides. The reality is that very quick knee-jerk change very rarely makes a long-term effect. And the goal of our commission is to see some long-term effects in place. We have been doing a lot of data gathering. We're going to start listening sessions in January. And I think we've identified some recommendations that we can provide to the mayor here pretty soon. The recommendations are not going to be massive and sweeping, but there are some recommendations that we are starting to work on to provide to the mayor probably in the new year, early in the new year.
For those concerned that the commission might be sort of overly controlled by government or have any preconceived notions about what those recommendations might be, can you kind of tell us about the process and the independence of the commission?
So the mayor is not in control of our commission. We have a facilitator who's hired by the city who works with us, but ultimately we as a commission decide on our agenda, our action items, when to send recommendations to the mayor, what subcommittees to have, who to have on the commission. So the mayor has not been to our meetings. She's been in communication with us. There's a liaison that appears at our meetings. We can ask for data. She's provided data to us. Really everything that we've ever asked, we've received from the mayor, but the mayor ultimately is not in control of who we appoint to the commission and what our action items are. And certainly it's helpful for us to maintain that dialogue, which is why we do maintain a dialogue with her staff, but the staff itself does not control our meetings. In fact, our meetings are run through the city library for that very reason.
Do you personally find that the commission is actually going to help bring about that meaningful change that's needed?
I think so. We have a lot of highly skilled, dedicated, level-headed people looking at these very, very difficult issues. The people on this commission are well aware of what the problems are, especially within their own communities. And the core commission did request to have certain people join the commission because we wanted to make sure that every group that was affected by law enforcement was present at the table to provide their feedback. I think we will have the ability to make lasting change, but lasting change, like I said, is never quick and it's never easy. It always takes time, especially if it's going to be taken seriously by all members of the community, including law enforcement. If we created a policy or amended a policy that ended up harming law enforcement, then we wouldn't be doing anybody any good. Or if we created a policy that inadvertently harmed the larger community, then of course that's not going to be helpful either. So we have these level-headed minds who are really looking at every aspect of policies and procedures, trying to make sure that when we do recommend a change, it's not going to have many unintended consequences. Of course, there's some we just won't be able to avoid, but we are looking at making changes that have as little unintended consequences as possible.
For members of the public who want to keep up with what's going on with the commission, how do they go about doing that?
All of our meetings are public. Our subcommittee meetings are open to the public. Our large commission meetings are open to the public. The only ones that are not open to the public right now are our scheduling meetings, where the core commission meets with the facilitators and plans out the large commission meeting agendas for the following meeting. But everyone is free to watch. There are certain meetings that have public comment periods, and people are certainly welcome to come online and make their voice heard. They're also welcome to email us. We've been really responsive to emails whenever anybody wants to email us. They can email us individually, or they can send an email to repcommission@slcgov.com. And here pretty soon, we're going to be rolling out a social media campaign that will allow people to have even more access to us, because we do realize that not everybody feels comfortable sending an email or coming up for getting online and speaking during a public comment phase. We are sensitive to that, and some people would prefer to communicate with us over social media, say. So we are going to get a social media campaign started here soon.
What are the next steps for the commission as you move forward?
Our next steps are to start making some recommendations. There are still a few more people we want to meet with, a few more specialists, Probably Chief Brown a few more times, of course, and we will want to meet with the City Council. I believe we're planning on meeting with the City Council in January. So our next steps moving forward are to really start to fashion some of those recommendations, bring to the larger commission everything the subcommittees have been working on, and starting to create some recommendations.
And now we go back in time for our History Minute. Sledding has always been a pastime in Salt Lake City. The particularly hilly streets of the avenues became favorite spots for the children of the city to gather and sled. But sledding in the streets was dangerous for kids. In light of increased injuries, the city took steps to protect them. To ensure the safety of the kids, sledding was banned on city streets in 1903. But this did little to stop determined sledders on snow days. Eventually, the city council relented. And in 1915, they designated a number of streets that would be closed to all traffic on snow days, reserved for kids to sled on. As many as 30 streets were initially designated for that purpose. By 1920, that number dwindled down to 8, including the entirety of First Avenue and D Street. Traffic police would even be stationed at every intersection, ensuring cars stopped or diverted for the winter fun. Closing streets for sledding had vanished by 1960, leaving the hill at Sugar House Park as the only legally designated spot in the city for sledding. Today, the park is still widely used for sledding every time it snows. Thank you for joining us for our very first episode of 2021. Please join us next time to stay up to date on all the latest. If you're looking for a way to just get out and enjoy the fresh air in the evening, come on down to the Gallivan Center and check out their beautiful lights out on the plaza. Thanks again for watching. We hope to see you next time. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.